Development at the National Assembly, where the Nigerian Senate has approved a death penalty for drug offenders found guilty of drug abuse. The Senate's decision follows the consideration of a report by a joint committee on judiciary, human rights and legal matters, as well as committee on drugs and narcotics on an act to amend the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency Act. National Assembly correspondent Dubiously reports.
Chairman of the Joint Committee, Senator Tahir Monguno, presenting the report to amend the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency Act to strengthen the operations of the agency, review penalty provisions, and enhance the power of the agency to prosecute drug-related offences.
In most cases, in the course of enforcing the law or making an arrest, drug-related cases is normally a cartel. They organize themselves and obstruct the officers of the NDLA from performing their constitutional mandate, their legal mandate. So therefore, there is need to impose a very steep penalty to deter them from such acts of obstruction of exercising legal powers.
During the clause-by-clause consideration, the chief whip of the Senate, Senator Ali Ndume, disapproved of the committee's recommendations on Clause 11, which proposes a more lenient penalty for drug offenders of not more than 25 years imprisonment without option of fine, different from what is contained in the Act, which provides a life sentence. The lawmaker proposed a death sentence for anyone found guilty to serve as a deterrent to drug offenders. When his proposal was put to a voice vote, the ayes had it.
I am surprised that the committee is recommending a softer punishment. It was a life imprisonment. In fact, we should change it to death sentence.
It's time to call a spade a spade. If we want to eradicate drug trafficking in Nigeria, the only way to do that is to nip it from the board and to make it a capital offense.
However, some senators strongly disagreed with the new clause and called for a review, but they were overruled by the Senate.
I am accountable to my conscience and to my community. Death sentence is not a matter for a, nay or nay. Everybody should vote so that we will be counted when it matters. Those who vote for death and those who vote for punishment.
The chairman of the committee, Senator Tahir Monguno, while speaking with journalists, advised lawmakers strongly opposed to the decision of the Senate to seek an amendment through a motion, but it's still not a guarantee that their request will be granted. Dubiously, TVC News, Abuja.
I'm joined now by Senate Deputy Chief Whip, Senator Onyekachi Nwebonyi. He joins me live from our Abuja studio. Thank you for joining us on TVC News at 7. So the report by the Senate committee did not initially capture a death sentence until one of your colleagues raised that recommendation while the report was being debated. What informed this stiffer penalty? And what do you make of the opinion that perhaps the senators may have made a hasty decision in this regard?
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to throw more light on this all-important bill, which I know is of utmost national interest. I'm a member of the committee, and I want to use this medium to set the record straight. In the course of our, committee consideration of the bill, we interface with the law officers of National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, and after hearing from them, as a committee, we unanimously, meaning that all of us in that committee agreed and recommended for death penalty for drug traffickers. What actually transpired today was a shock to all of us, because I accosted the chairman and I told him that we recommended death penalty for drug traffickers in Nigeria. Why did you change, to life imprisonment? No explanation was provided for this. So the fact is that at the committee stage, we actually recommended, a death penalty for drug traffickers, but it was changed. And being vigilant parliamentarians, we insisted that the right thing must be done. If you can look at it critically, you will agree with me that if actually we want to eradicate drug trafficking in Nigeria, the best thing to do is to nip it from the bud, is to cut off the source of those drugs by making it a capital offense. When we make it a capital offense like we've done, the drug traffickers will know that this is an issue between life and death. So it will deter them from engaging in that business. So we know what we did, and we stand by that. And this is the only way we can protect, and preserve, the health and future of Nigerian youths. In knowledge of the fact that drugs have actually done a lot negatively in the lives of our youths. And the problem we're facing today in Nigeria, ranging from Boko Haram, banditry, IPOB menace, they are all drug-influenced activities. So as leaders, we must call a spade and take drastic steps. Anybody who is not in support of this bill probably have an interest.
All right. Distinguished, you are saying that the committee actually decided on capital punishment.
On record, we decided and agreed.
Who changed it?
All of us in that committee.
Who now changed the decision of the committee?
That question should be directed to the chairman of the committee, because I asked him at the floor of the Senate and no answer was provided.
All right. So Nigerians are already reacting to this decision. Many of them are saying, you know what, corruption is as disastrous as drug trafficking as well. Why not even recommend death penalty for public officers who steal public funds? But are you also paying attention
to that?
Are you also paying attention to the fact that the executive have not been able to, implement this aspect of the law in the past years? While prescribed death penalty, if the executive is not going to be willing to implement it?
It is not true. This is the first time the parliament is recommending death penalty for drug trafficking in Nigeria. And we have to do so. We have to borrow from what is happening from other countries. For example, go to China. The punishment for drug trafficking is death. Go to US, even South Africa. So why should we in Nigeria, a giant of Africa, should be lenient in that aspect? And the second question you asked, why are we not making corruption to attract stiffer punishment? We are coming to that. The constitutional review is on course, and we have those things in mind. This is time to reset this country. This is time to call a spade a spade. What is not good is not good, and nothing will make it good. So anybody who has sympathy for the offenders, probably I don't want to use the word. He's just trying to tell us that he is interested in the business. But if you are a patriotic Nigerian that want Nigeria to be free of drugs, we must accept this position. That is the way to go.
By the way, last year, the Nigerian Correctional Service disclosed that over 3,000 inmates were currently on death row across the country as a result of the lack of willingness and readiness on the part of the states to implement this law. But that's our time. Senate Deputy Chief Whip, Senator Onyekachi Nwebonyi, thank you so much for talking to us on TVC News at 7.
Thank you.
Away from the Senate now, but we're still in our booth.